If you like to laugh, and who doesn't, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. Frank Powell is a real estate broker who was born and raised in San Diego, along with Frank's brother Mark, a real estate broker who also lives in San Diego. Each week, the Powell brothers bring in a special guest comedian to share hilarious real estate stories so you can learn what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership. So now, let's get into it. With My Funny House, here are your hosts, Frank and Mark Powell on The Answer San Diego.
Happy Saturday morning, San Diego. This is Mark Powell. Welcome to My Funny House with the Powell brothers. And sitting right next to me is my business partner and my brother, Frank Powell.
Good morning, San Diego. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to have a good show today, but before we start, as usual, we always want to bring in our co-host, Maria Herman. Good morning, Maria. Are you done with your travels? Are you back home? We don't even know where you're at. Are you in Sri Lanka or something?
How did you know that? Of course I'm in Sri Lanka. That's my usual abode.
Yes.
I was just thinking, when you were talking about having your business partner and your brother sitting next to you, how lucky you are, because I could never be in business with my brother. He sells fish. That is not something I would be. I wouldn't do it. Today on the show, I am very happy to bring in my special guest, who's been a special guest with us many times before, and he's one of my favorite comedians in San Diego. Please welcome Tony Calabresi.
Hey, how you doing?
Tony's in the house.
Mama. Tony's good.
Hey.
He made us kiss his ring when we entered.
Yes.
Well, that was one thing.
Well, as long as that's all it was.
Yes, that was it.
Hey,
Just
this morning we have a very interesting show, and it's called Mistakes to Avoid When Selling Your Home. And there are several mistakes to avoid, and we're going to go through a lot of them. And one of the first mistakes is
Hiding the bodies.
No shallow graves.
That's a big one around my neighborhood. That's
That is true. Actually, it's don't try and sell it yourself. You should probably hire a realtor, and Frank is going to explain to you why you shouldn't try and sell it yourself.
Well, it's just like anything. If the first thing of selling it yourself is thinking you're going to save the money with cutting the commissions, because that's what you look at. Like, why am I paying this amount to sell it? What you don't realize is all the legal implications in the forms and the documents that you're going to have to sign that you're probably not aware of, because even a current agent are not very hip on what's going on with the new and current laws. So you have to have an agent represent you and make sure that you don't get in trouble yourself, which is very easy to do if you try to watch, one YouTube thing on how to sell your own property. In California, it's not like any other states. There's a lot of rules and regulations that govern the sale of a property. And unless you're an agent, you will not be updated on what's going on with that, and you can get yourself in trouble. Typically, another thing is that you tend to by statistics, you make way more money when you sell your house with an agent as opposed to selling it yourself. You don't get in that conflict. Someone's going to come in, they're not going to be honest with you and tell you that they don't like the way your rooms are painted and so forth and so on. So it's good to have a neutral agent between you. And I'll give you another example. Picture any football team or basketball team. When you have a superstar in there, he's never trying to do the contracts himself. They always hire an agent to represent them. They get a better deal each time.
Yeah.
So that's why you want to hire an agent.
What do you guys think?
You need a buffer.
Yeah.
We call it a buffer.
You need a buffer. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, buffer.
So
always work with a buffer.
Right, and part of our job is also handle the emotions back and forth, because sometimes it gets personal. If somebody comes in and assaults your house and you start throwing them out, how many people you want to throw out? Because everyone's going to say something negative, so the agent's able to be that buffer between the buyer and the seller.
That's right.
Does that happen a lot, where people try and sell their own homes and somebody comes in and say, oh, this looks like garbage, get out of my house. I'm not.
In fact, it happens so often that there's another disclosure that says you're being recorded in the house. So what homeowners are doing is they're recording people when they come into the house. And then if they go in the kitchen and go, God, look at this wallpaper, whatever's in there, the homeowner looks at it later on in the afternoon and says, I want to sell to that person. They're rude.
Well, now with security for homes is a big industry. So not a lot of people they can put a little chip inside of their, plug-in and videotape you. So you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a great opportunity Honestly, when else are you going to be able to tell a stranger that was a horrible decision my husband made? I absolutely agree with you. I mean,
he hung the wallpaper upside down.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
That
I tried to tell him.
To me.
I know.
You get some backup. You get some backup there. Also, one thing people tend to do is they wait to sell. And why is that? Why is waiting to sell like, well, this is not
Season.
the right time? Yeah. What Frank, what do you mean by waiting to sell?
Well, a lot of times people tell you the best time to sell is during springtime or summertime when the kids need to be relocated and they can go and shop. And what we've seen, Mark and I, in the past 15 years is that there is an influx on how many people put their house on the market. However, Mark and I have sold the best houses, the biggest houses, the best value houses during the winter months.
Right.
And so we did our own research and we go, we're selling in New Year's Eve and, Christmas time and Thanksgiving. And I know why it is, because when you put your house on the market, you're kind of like testing the market. And those people that don't want to sell or decide not to will remove it from the MLS or the multi-listing service. But the people who are very serious, who have to move, need to sell their house. And the people who have to buy need to buy. So you get a better, full-time agent typically, because they work during, all months, not just when it's easy. And then you got a buyer that needs to sell, so you can negotiate much better during those months. So there's not a season. If you need to sell it now, whatever your background is or the reason why you're selling it.
Well, I could see that maybe back east, but in Southern California, there's no seasons anyway.
No.
I mean,
Well, there's a fire season.
all year long. Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't we have an earthquake season now too?
No.
They've been advertising those things for earthquakes lately. So I wonder if they know something we don't.
What about a tourist season? We have that.
We have a tourist
all
season.
year long.
We have 4 seasons.
Well, that earthquake thing is also, that's a whole nother topic about earthquake insurance. Like, if you get it,
they'll cancel you, won't they?
What can you imagine if there was an earthquake, you didn't have earthquake insurance, your house comes crumbling down?
I don't know.
You have a problem.
We tried it once, and they said they would cancel our insurance if we got earthquake insurance.
Did they really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that's a different subject matter. So
how about
what's
this?
the next one?
The other one is sometimes people refuse to make upgrades. When you go into their house, you'll tell them, hey, there's some simple upgrades that are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. And sometimes you need some serious upgrades. And Frank is going to talk to you about what I mean between serious upgrades and upgrades that are just cosmetic in nature, virtually.
Look, I keep telling my husband I need some serious upgrades, and he's against it. I don't.
What about,
you're not referring to the house.
I mean,
my wife wants me to get cosmetic upgrades.
What kind?
She wants me to look like Brad Pitt or George Clooney.
You do look like Brad Pitt.
I think you look
Pitt, not Brad Pitt.
yeah.
I think you look like his cousin, Armpit.
I look more like Rosemary Clooney. That's the problem.
Armpit.
Okay.
Frank, what kind of upgrades are we talking about?
Okay, so listen, if you're going to put your house on the market to sell, you got to, if you want to make good money or more money than you anticipate, you got to do some work. You don't, if you can't afford to hire somebody, do it yourself. Painting doesn't take that long, even though it's tedious and no one wants to do it. But just even painting that red accent wall that was cool in the 80s, you may want to get rid of that and neutralize it. It's just a can of paint and doing the elbow grease. So these are the kind of things that you can do around the house, including even, this is one that no one does, clean your windows.
Oh, geez.
Right?
You know why? Because it's so hard.
It is hard. It's a pain. That's why.
Especially if it's a 2-story house.
Well, I don't recommend getting on ladders, but you can hire people.
I've watched them do it. People that do it, they remove the windows and they actually clean them and then place the window back.
I always recommend hiring a professional window cleaner.
We had a guy that had like a magnet thing and went on one side and then he did the...
like an aquarium thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did the windows that way, but it was...
Did it work or just smear everything around?
It smeared everything around. Yeah. It looked so much better.
Yeah, it looks so much different.
Now it looks like we have a mountain scene when we look through the window. It's a dust storm. It's not bad,
So anyway, you want to do, there's a lot of ways to upgrade your house and just make it look a little bit different on the cheap. Okay, so I'm sure every family has a garage, has paint in the garage. Just look at the paint, see if you can use that. And you could be, highlighting or taking the smudges off or the scratches. And these are the things that you can do. Just, paint's one of them. Clean the bathroom, detail the house.
What if you have a situation, because I've had it before, where you have an older person who's been in the house a while, they pass away, you inherit the house.
Right.
And it's got the old pink bathrooms, popcorn ceilings, all that kind of stuff. Do you spend the money to upgrade all that? I mean, maybe even if it's $50 to $100 grand?
You just said something really important that I don't know if people know. popcorn ceilings. You want to explain that? What's a popcorn ceiling?
That old spray stuff they used to put for acoustics.
Exactly. It's acoustics. Now, that can be a little bit different because if it's made prior to, 74 or 78, it could have asbestos in it. Right. That could be a pain in the butt. But after that, if it's in the 80s, you can scrape that off. Yeah, and you're right, Tony. Get rid of that stuff. And that brings us on to something else, getting rid of clutter in a house. So oftentimes you'll get a house, you'll go in the house, and you'll say, well, wow, that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. That offends people. You have to understand that people that collect things, everything probably means a little bit to them, and then they have too much stuff. So when you start talking about declutter, make sure that you're talking depending on what your
you may not even want to use the word clutter.
Yeah, just say, you may want to put some of the stuff away, and just don't tell them to throw it away or donate it. Just go, let's box it up and make it a little less
and mail it.
Could you put Uncle Sal in the back room, please? Just get him out of that chair. He's been there for years. A lot of clutter in the room. He smokes and he looks, he makes noises like the dog. It's not good.
Yeah, Maria, what was that?
Oh, he keeps eating the popcorn off the ceiling. We're not even watching a movie. I don't know why.
Well, that is true.
I was going to ask, is that's the time where you go, okay, we're going to, this is for toss, this is for donate, this is what we're going to take with us, maybe start that process a little bit? No?
Not yet. What you want to do is you just want to take the items and put them in the garage, because what people do anticipate is the garage will be cluttered with a bunch of stuff, and it doesn't take the highlight off the house. People expect to go in the garage and see a bunch of stuff. So if you want to do it quick, just put the stuff in the garage. You can put it in boxes, but they don't have to be labeled yet. Once they're in the garage, you can start helping them move and saying, this donate, this keep, this maybe keep, this trash, this is, give away. You can start that process, but that process comes.
Hey, what did you say, Tony?
Put Uncle Sal out in the garage.
Yeah. Wheel him down the street.
Well, here's something that's also important to do. Remove personal items. What could possibly be a personal item that you would recommend removing right away?
Pictures of all your grandkids on the wall, the wedding pictures, your diplomas that you got, it looks like a museum, like Mark's office looks like a museum.
Oh yeah, trophies.
Trophies, right.
Yeah.
What kind of trophies?
What kind of trophies?
What kind of trophies, sir?
What kind?
Yeah.
Oh, because I have so many trophies.
The souls of my enemies.
In general.
Baseball, a lot of ribbons around, there's a whole bunch.
You don't want a bison head for people to see.
What's weird about the pictures on the wall? Now with the search tools that you have online that are offered by a lot of the different agencies, and the pictures that we take, there's such high resolution that you can zoom in on a picture in a house and you can actually see it online.
Right.
I mean, go online and Google some homes for sale, and you can zoom in pretty good and see it.
Yeah, so you want to protect the privacy of the individual. So if they do have a certificate on the wall and somebody can read it, that's not good. That's private information. So that's part of protecting the client as well.
Oh, we're seeing Maria's.
Maria has a cork board behind her.
Exactly.
I'm just covered in photographs.
For those of you who can't see.
Maria's on a Zoom and all of her certificates are behind her.
Hey, wait a minute. That's Uncle Sal she's covering up right there.
Frank has certificates on his wall, but they're in crayon, so he's not very upset about having those taken.
Hey, whenever
I leave those up there.
Success is success, no matter what age.
Okay, now speaking of how you market the house, this is where some people, and Frank and I have had this experience, want to save some money. We say we're going to take some professional photos, and oftentimes they'll give this response. Frank, and you've had it. I already know what you're going to say.
I don't know what am I going to say.
There he goes.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Okay,
I'm going to take photos and someone's going to say something?
This is how we rehearsed it, just to let everybody know. No, sometimes we'll have clients that say, I'll take the photos myself because I have a nice Nikon or whatever Canon camera, and I take beautiful photos. So they'll want to take the photos themselves. We highly recommend against that. And surprisingly enough, you know what camera takes really good photos of a house?
Your iPhone.
Yeah. The iPhone.
They've updated.
It's unbelievable.
Or any phone. It's not just the iPhone, but whatever.
Yeah. My iPhone takes some really.
Another thing about the photos is that now that you have to give the photos away. So if you have a person who's not a professional and they take the photos and they see their photo 2 months later being used as an ad, there could be a lawsuit for infringement rights. Copyright. So you want to make sure that the photographer releases the photos so you can use them from then on.
Right. Do you guys hire the photographer? Do you find the photographer for this?
Yes, we hire the photographers, and it depends what it is. If it's a condo, we hire the photographer. Sometimes you'll need a drone. If it's horse property, you need a bigger event, and so forth and so on. So we kind of like have different photographers for different types of properties.
Right, and the drone videos come out really nice, so you can see the neighborhood. Not in the neighborhood, but if you're selling a horse property and you have 20 acres, how are you going to take one photo? It doesn't tell the story. So the drone now can fly over and do an aerial and go, through the barns, through everything. It's really, really And we sold
functional.
a property by the beach, and you can just see how close it was to the beach because as you lift it off.
The beach, huh?
Yeah.
The drone kind of went down over the water there and the sand and the people laying out on the beach.
Yeah.
just checking with you, Mark.
Camera. Yeah, really.
Black's Beach? Was that the beach that was flying over? Just checking.
I'll tell you.
Oh, we know what we're going to get you for Christmas.
just asking.
This is probably one of the most important things or most important mistakes people make when selling a house is their failure to disclose everything because they feel that if they tell people about the deficiencies or the
fire that
issues,
happened in the kitchen,
right?
They covered up the flood
Frank,
that happened in the bathroom.
What do you recommend about disclosures?
Let me tell you something. When you're doing a negotiation, you have to disclose everything. And the reason why is when somebody's in the middle of negotiations and you're honest with them up front, it's way better and they'll accept it because they're excited about getting the house. So you want to disclose everything in writing because it's real estate. Everything has to be in writing. But don't try to hide the crack. Don't try to cover that there was a flood. Don't try to say we had a mole issue. Just tell everything. When the person buying it, it's better not to surprise them, or else you will, have a lawsuit a year later when they do find out that you tried to cover something. The truth always ends up coming out. So don't try to hide anything. Just tell everyone what's going on, and someone's going to buy your house regardless of the condition. There's a buyer out there.
Well,
was that a mole issue or a mold issue?
That's what I was wondering.
Are we
talking about a relationship disclosure? Because I don't know. That sounds like a pretty good idea. I'd like to disclose I have 5 moles.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what some people don't disclose is like neighborhood nuisances.
Well, I have that issue too.
But not on you. That's
well, the other thing Mark's about to talk about is that you want to disclose what's called a material fact.
Right.
And a material fact is anything that can influence a person buying your house or reducing the price. And that material fact would be you're in Point Loma and the 727 flies over your house and you don't disclose that you're in a flight path. That could be detrimental to someone who doesn't like noise, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden they wake up and they hear the jet flying over and they go, well, how come you didn't tell me I'm in a flight path? And you go, I didn't want to.
Or a leaky roof because it's not raining.
Right.
And then it rains.
Yeah, that's true.
Does your roof leak? Only when it rains.
Drainage issues, like, has it rained all of a sudden? Oh yeah, my backyard gets flooded back here. Just tell them when it rains, a pool of water, you may want to call a gardener to get some drainage going back there. But these are the things that are outside the house, barking dogs, even nutty neighbors that do disturbing things. I mean, just disclose everything.
Just give a barking neighbor, it's even worse.
Yeah, barking neighbors, don't buy that house.
Yeah. Doesn't this go completely against human nature to say everything and be completely honest about everything?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah. Yes.
But that's why, listen, we're talking about the major things, and some of them you think are going to influence whether or not someone buys, and it's been our
experience
that we have not had that problem.
No.
It's so much easier to disclose and just go, listen, the roof leak, we patched it, you can get a roofing contractor, but it did leak at one point, it doesn't leak anymore. Okay, thank you. As opposed to it starts leaking during the rain, and they find patches and they go, hey, obviously knew about this, you had it fixed, why didn't you disclose it?
And the funny thing is, the minute they find out, the buyer, they find out that you didn't disclose one thing, and then it kind of taints everything. They're like, well, what else did they not disclose?
Right.
Like Tony was talking about. The bodies.
Yeah.
No, I don't know.
They find one finger and then...
Yeah, one finger gives it all away. It's just like...
One finger. To get rid of.
Just a finger.
It was just, exactly. It's just a finger.
Okay, and then also, if there's an insurance claim made against the property, sometimes people fail to disclose that, but what we do is we order something called a clue report. CLUE, which stands for Comprehensive Loss Underwriting Exchange.
Comprehensive Liability Underwriter Exchange.
Correct. Liability.
You are correct, sir.
Liability.
And the reason why that exists is whenever you make an insurance claim, it goes into this bank where anyone can look up whether there was a claim made on the property.
Correct.
And they have this exchange set up. I guess it goes back 5 years, I believe.
Yeah, well, even if it goes back, whatever you can. Let's say you had a small kitchen or flood. Your plumbing's bad in the toilet, and you had to remove the tile and fix it. Just say it.
Yes.
No
Disclose.
problem.
Okay. Here's a big one. All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
Big one. Ready, Maria? This is a big one.
It's a big one, Maria.
I'm ready because I thought we were going to play Clue. It was going to be Frank in the bathroom with the plunger, as usual.
It's actually Mark's plunger story. So.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Okay. This is very important. When you have sellers that are unwilling to negotiate, you know that.
I've never had an issue with that.
Tony, go talk to him.
Yeah, never had any. Everybody's willing to negotiate. You know what I'm saying? We make them an offer he can't refuse. That's what we do.
The thing with negotiating is what the realtor needs to explain to the seller, or if they're representing the buyer, is that they're going to have to give up something that they may not want to. You have to give up something in a negotiation. If everybody walks away unhappy, a good negotiation.
That's successful negotiation.
Successful.
Bye, Uncle Sal. You're going with them.
Rarely is it a one-sided where somebody gets everything. It doesn't happen.
Each party has to be mutually screwed over.
Exactly.
To have a good mediation.
So
wait, is that still in like now with the way the real estate market is? Is that still the case? Because I feel like it's still a seller's market right now, isn't it?
It's still a seller's market, but what happens even when somebody wants to buy the house really bad and they do a home inspection, that home inspector has to basically list everything wrong with the house, and they're scared to get sued for missing something, so they're going to list everything. And then that explains, like, if there's something major, like, hey, listen, I know your house, I know it's a seller's market, but the termites, if they stop holding hands, the whole house is going to collapse. We got to talk about that. Or you have this weird side of your house that's not exposed to sunlight, and there's a lot of mildew and there's a lot of soft earth. We got to undig that and see where it's coming from. It could be a leak. So that's when you have to negotiate. You can't say, nope, I don't care what you find. There's people like that, but they usually end up not selling or eventually reducing their property value.
What if the termites are just friends and not in a serious relationship?
Then they can hold hands.
Okay. All right.
But in San Diego, just even now, there's termite swarming. But here's how termites work. They eat wood. They grow wings. They fly in a swarm, and whatever they land on, then their wings pop off, and they climb into the next house.
And they taste like peanuts.
Yeah, Mark loves eating termites.
Remember the termites?
Oh yeah, we did a termite show.
I remember.
We're on show 40, and that was like on the first show.
It was.
Okay, this is the last thing that we want to talk about is don't let your emotions get the best of you when you're selling your house, and that.
Well, that's why.
What about
that's
the
why
rest of the time?
Right.
What about when you're not selling?
That should be like a number one rule of life. It's not just selling.
Don't let your emotions get the best of you. You know, you need to celebrate the sale of a house and celebrate these things. Not. Don't be bummed out. You know, celebrate.
Here's a good one. Like if somebody comes and you consider it a lowball offer,
right?
It may not be a lowball offer to them. It may be their absolute what they can pay for, and they're just wishing that you'll take it. So it's not something personal, but it's like, hey, you can spend this much, and they're shopping, and they want something for like let's say $600, and you want $680, so they offer you $600, and you get emotionally like these guys are insulting me. So don't think
don't take it personal.
Nothing personal.
It's not
But
personal.
that's what the agent.
Frank, let me. What was that?
It's just business.
Don't take it personal. Hey, Frank, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
What if we wanted to get a hold of Tony or Maria? How will we do that?
I ask him, how do we get a hold of you, Maria? What's your social media looking like these days?
Well, it's out there. We have a new show at Liberty Station, and I want as many people to come and check it out on October 14th. Tony's going to be hosting the show.
It's a great lineup on that show, too.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. It's a Comedy Heights show. So find me at Comedy Heights. I have shows every weekend. It's a lot of fun. Or if you want me for a private gig, find me at Comedy Heights. That's where everybody finds me.
Nice.
So.
How you doing at TonyCalabresi.com.
Okay.
You can get hold of me that way or any social media, Facebook.
Awesome.
Tony Calabresi.
And Frank, how do we get a hold of us?
Well, go ahead and tell them how.
You can get a hold of us by either calling us at 858-922-7725 or
PowellBrothersRealty.com, or look us up on YouTube, My Funny House with the Powell Brothers. You get to see all of us, now that we're a family, every week doing this for you out there. We really appreciate you.
And thanks
listening.
everybody for listening.
Thanks. Have a good Saturday.
Have a good Saturday and a great weekend.
That went by fast.
Bye-bye.
They always go by so
Flies
fast.
by.
Good one.
Thanks so much for joining us today for My Funny House with the Powell Brothers, right here on The Answer San Diego. Join us next week as the Powell Brothers bring you more funny stories of what can go really right and what can go really wrong with home improvements and home ownership, and bring the laughs to you with yet another hilarious guest comedian. To find out more about the Powell Brothers, be sure to check out their website at PowellBrothersRealty.com, or you can visit MyFunnyHouse.com. Again, thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week for My Funny House on The Answer San Diego.